And we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Got a brand new web camera, so I have to wave at everybody. I took my other one to the MVP Summit. It was the Microsoft LiveCam. It served me well for like 6 years. Unfortunately, it lived in the back of Audrey Gordon's car for a couple of weeks, and it didn't do well in the back of her car. They kept dying after that. So at the MVP Summit, where I was actually with Tristan last week, Monday morning, I found out that the camera kept dying, and I went out and got a new one. So here we are with a brand new camera. This morning is actually one of my favorite topics in the Power BI world. We're actually going to go out and show people how to do data storytelling. So going out and actually walking your people through a story using your data. I'm actually working on the dashboard and day with Nikhil from Obvian, and we're going to refactor that entire training all using bookmarks. So it's almost going to be self-documented. Instead of having 200 pages of documentation on what to do for the lab, Bookmarks is going to walk you through it. At least that's the vision. So hopefully that's the case. Tristan, can I get you to go ahead and share your screen? And what we'll do is once your screen is shared, we're going to go ahead and have people tell us all about yourself. Perfect. I saw me for a second, and now I see you. So I'm going to go ahead and lock the viewport to you. I'm going to turn off my camera.
Okay.
And I heard a rumor that you had 125 people coming into your user group tomorrow. Is that right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm based in Paris. I set up the Paris Power BI user group last year, and we have something like 800 members already. And tomorrow we have our 12th meetup, and there will be around 120 people, hopefully. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Yeah, definitely.
That is amazing. And then I'm going to probably meet a bunch of those people in Dublin when I'm there in April. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah,
as well.
Probably there will be some people attending the Dublin Summit. Yeah.
So what about yourself? Where do you work? What do you do to keep yourself sane when you're not doing Power BI?
Well, thanks, Chuck. So my name is Tristan. I'm Power BI data and BI consultant at Azeo, a Microsoft partner in France. I'm also a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. So I had the chance to attend the MVP Summit last week in Redmond. That was my first one. Pretty exciting, really cool stuff that were shown to us. And yeah, I really enjoyed meeting all these Power BI and rock stars all over the world. So yeah, that was really cool for me. As I said, I also co-founded the Club Power BI, which is our user group. And as you said, Chuck, we have a really good meetup tomorrow, hopefully. So the session of today is about data storytelling. So I'm going to show you really cool features on dashboards I built myself on politics, sports, and so on. And I will showcase all the latest features of Power BI. So here is the agenda. We'll see what is actually storytelling, data storytelling. And then we'll see a couple of features such as drill through, page report tooltips, which was released last week. Then Q&A, expand increase, bookmarks, and probably, if we have time, a little bit of bonus. Okay, so I think we can start now. So what is data storytelling, right? I really wanted to be clear on what we are going to talk about. So I found this on the web. I found it pretty interesting. Data storytelling is the process of building a narrative around a set of data and its accompanying visualization to support decision making. Okay, so we clearly see that it's not just about visualization, but it's highly communicative. You have to tell a story about a data which might be complex at the beginning. And then you need to make sure that the users and the people who are going to use these dashboards will take better decisions, right? So this brings me to why you should do data storytelling, because I think that it drives data culture in your company. It definitely increases the adoption of Power BI or any data tools that could allow you to do storytelling. It also, I think, from what I see at my clients in France, it definitely brings in C-levels into the game. because you are clearly democratizing the access and the analysis of the data. You make it more clear and so on. So it's definitely a huge asset as well. I think data storytelling also allows you to provide value and context, which is really important in the world of data analysis. It definitely brings context into your analysis. And this definitely allows you to do much better and faster decisions, which is obviously the real objective of storytelling, right? So that was a bit of theory. As I said, I have a lot of demos to show you to see how Power BI can actually help you do this kind of storytelling. But just before we dive into the demos, I just wanted to show you this slide, which I almost show at all my Power BI sessions at our user group or conferences and so on, which is the Data Iceberg, right? And why am I showing you this slide is because Power BI is not just a visualization tool, right? And as we saw, data storytelling is not just about visualization either, right? So you can definitely do some storytelling with Power BI because you have a complete BI solutions which allow you to import data from many different sources, probably more than 70 now. You can clean it using Power Query, you can model it, analyze it using DAX measures and so on, visualize it, share it, and then once you've done all these steps, you're ready to produce the famous dashboards that everyone is going to see in your organization, right? And these elements are pretty important because I think they are all parts of the data storytelling experience. You need to have some data, you need to clean it, you need to analyze it, and then you will be able to visualize it and tell a story around it. So that is really, really interesting. And I think that the sharing part is also really important because I guess that if you're interested in data storytelling, you're not going to tell a story just for yourself, right? You're going to make sure you'll tell a story for other people. So having the ability to share your findings, your insights across the organization is also a huge asset, I think. So that's it for the theory. Now let's do some demos. I'm going to show you really, really cool stuff to illustrate what we have just said. So I'm going to start. So all my demos will be on Power BI desktop. I have the latest version, the March version, which was released last week. So let's start by this one. I have a Power BI report with several pages about the soccer player Lionel Messi, right? So I have different pages. This one is the global page, kind of high-level statistics about the player, the games by competition, by results over time as well. So pretty interesting. I can definitely slice the data and so on. Yeah, you know it. It's definitely part of the storytelling experience. What I want to show you is the fact that I have a second page, which is a little bit more detailed. So this is still about Lionel Messi. These are the detailed goals. So at which minute during the game does Messi score? How? What was the status of the game when Messi scored? Well, pretty interesting, right? And what I want to do is really to build kind of navigation through these pages so I can really adjust the grain of my analysis and go from the global page, which is more like a high-level view, to the detailed page, right? So what I'm going to show you right now is the first feature is drill through, the fact that you can reach a page from another page. So here I'll go to Liga, which is one of the competition Messi is playing, and then I will drill through the detailed page over here. And once I'm clicking, I can reach, as you can see here, the assist page, the detailed page, sorry. And I'm only seeing Liga. So I could filter the data and reach it through the global page, right? So this is pretty interesting. I'm gonna go back to the global page and maybe drill through the detailed page. Yeah, you can see the navigation, which is really smooth and pretty easy. I can also reach, for example, the assists page. So here I see the assists on Liga from Lionel Messi. So yeah, which is a separate page of my report. Pretty interesting. So that was the first one, drill through. It definitely changes the way you should build reports. I will get back to it in a sec. The second stuff I want to show you, still on the same report on Messi, is the page report tooltip, which basically allows you to do kind of the same stuff, the same user experience, but within a tooltip, right? So tooltips are, that small stuff that appear here when you put your mouse on the graph. And Microsoft released a really, really powerful and interesting feature last week, which allows you to kind of embed visual within the tooltip, right? So I'm gonna actually reproduce the same user experience. I want to be able to display the detailed statistics of Lionel Messi within this global page, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my mouse over here. And as you can see, this is actually coming from the detailed page, right? And it's filtered on Liga. And here I can see on the small tooltip the same statistics I've just shown you, but within the detail page, right? Which is pretty interesting. And I think I prefer this feature rather than drill through, right? So this basically works the same. It's just gonna propagate the filter on the detailed page. Just gonna quickly show you how it works behind the scene. On the detailed page, on the tooltip page, which I prepared in advance, I kind of prepared the three graphs, the three charts I wanted to display on my tooltip. So this is my tooltip page. I hid it from the report view, so my users don't actually see it. And I just made sure this is actually a tooltip, right? And the last thing I did is to bring in the competition, which comes from my data model, in the tooltip fields. And then the engine is really smart because whenever you're using this field on your charts, it will simply call the tooltip, propagate the filter, and display the relevant data within your report, right? So this is really amazing. I think you're gonna be inspired by this new feature. Okay, awesome. So we saw drill through, page report tooltips, which definitely changes the user experience for reports. I'm gonna show you a couple of more within this same report on Lionel Messi. So let's say, because we are really demanding, this report is not enough for us, right? So we really want to dive into the data and try to find other insights, right? So I'm just gonna create a new page here, a blank page, and I'm gonna actually query the data set, which is actually, which comes from the web. So there is a journalist who put this on the web, and I used the web connector to pull in the data on Power BI. And I'm gonna actually query this data using natural language, which is pretty good, right? So I'm gonna just double click here, and I will just ask any questions about my data. So let's say total goals by year, let's say. Okay, good, I have my chart, and then I can change the type as column chart, for example. Oopsie, column chart. I'm gonna make it. Good. So I have my chart. Very interesting. I could do many more using this natural language, doing some top segmentations, any kind of things that definitely mention the data model. So here I have an interesting chart. One thing I forgot to mention, I'm sure there are Lionel Messi's fan over the room, people watching the session right now. And you might be wondering why the goals are so low, because in reality, Messi scored more goals than that. The thing is, I decided to focus on the four most important competitions, which are Liga, Champions League, Copa America, and World Cup, right? So, okay, anyway, so I have this chart here. And as you can see, there is kind of a spike here. There is a huge increase. So I could actually use the different capabilities of Power BI around analytics and storytelling to try to explain what are the causes of this increase. But Microsoft introduced a really cool feature, which is definitely part of the storytelling experience, I think. So they introduced this feature maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 months ago, I think, is explain the increase. So I'm just gonna right click here on 2012, and I will just ask the engine, can you please explain the increase? Okay, so this is pretty amazing. We have a smart engine, which is basically scanning the whole data model, all the data which is part of your data model, and it's gonna try to find some insights, some explanations that could explain how the data has changed between 2011 and 2012, right? So this is pretty amazing because in a matter of seconds, it has built me really, really relevant charts. These are actually the waterfall charts, which are probably the best charts to explain some variance over time. So here, as we can see, Messi scored 43 goals in 2011, 72 in 2012, and then the engine just decided to make a breakdown over the dimension, the attribute how. Was it on the left foot, the head, the right foot, and so on. So as you can see, I can really find some really cool insights. Here I have the split over the quarter, the calendar quarter. Here I have the split over the competitions. Pretty interesting, 28 more goals in Liga between 2011 and 2012. Okay, so yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I can also, for example, change the nature of the chart. This one is actually the ribbon chart. I think I saw Kim Manis on the web saying that it was actually developed by an intern at Microsoft. So I don't know who you are, but really smart people here building this chart, which is pretty awesome to try to explain also this variance and yeah, this change over time. So cool. I'm just gonna grab, let's say, this one. I'm gonna thank the algorithm and then just click on this plus button here, and this gonna embed the report, the chart within my Power BI report, right? And as you can see, I could have actually built it myself, right? But probably it would have taken me much more time than the engine. Obviously, I keep the interactions. Okay, so pretty cool. Just gonna remove this. And just to show you that it also works for the decrease, right? Here I have a decrease in 2013. So I'm just gonna explain the decrease. Again, really interesting stuff. This one is pretty good, right? Power BI made the breakdown by the opponents, right? So I'm just gonna embed this one as well. And I wanna show you one more thing about this feature is the fact that you can dynamically change the number of the attributes which are part of the breakdown category, right? So here we have the breakdown by opponent, and I'm gonna go to the settings over here of the format to the breakdown category, and I can really adjust the number of categories I want to see on my waterfall chart, and it will just simply change the graph, the chart. So here it's pretty interesting. I can totally rebuild the whole waterfall and really see the breakdown over the different opponents that Messi played over the years. Yeah, so pretty cool one. That was about this Q&A combined to explain the increase. I think it definitely extends your power in terms of visualization and user experience. So you can really go into the data and find some really cool stuff. So let me just check something, the agenda, yeah, page report, we saw it. Explain the increase, we saw it. So let me get back to the report. One more thing, which is probably the most impressive and important feature I want to show you today, is the bookmarks, which were released a few months ago as well. So bookmarks are pretty interesting because they allow you, as report developers, Power BI report developers, to kind of save some views of your reports, save the filters, or kind of build a whole experience of navigation through the pages. And it definitely changes the way you should report and design reports. I was just talking to Chuck before we go live, and we were discussing about the fact that we nearly have to rebuild all the things that we have done before, right? And by the way, when I prepared for this demo, these are dashboards I built a few months ago. Well, actually, way before than all these features such as Q&A, bookmarks went out. So I actually needed to rebuild the user experience because it's so much better right now. So let me show you how you can actually build these bookmarks. I'm just gonna go to the view pane and turn on the bookmarks. So these are bookmarks I already created. I'm gonna create another one. So let's say I will go to the, let's say the global page. Okay. So let me just, I'm gonna quickly remove these. So this is my global page. I can simply bookmark it and name it global. Okay. And then, for example, I could filter on Liga. Okay. And then I'm gonna add a new bookmark, which will be global Liga. So as you can see, I'm kind of saving some views, some subtract of the report. I could do many more. I will show you another demo in a couple of minutes, but it's just to show you how you can build this user experience. And then I can switch into the view mode, which kind of is similar to a PowerPoint slides, but you are still within Power BI. And you can see this small stuff here, the bookmark with its name. And I can really go into the different views. And here I only built 2 bookmarks, right? But you got the point. You can really design the reports and the bookmarks as you want to. I could actually build another bookmarks from the detailed page, okay, on, let's say, Champions League, and I could add it here to my detailed page on the Champions League, switch to the view mode, and then make sure my readers, when I share to them, they just have to, you know, run these kind of slides. They don't necessarily have to be Power BI experts, because me, as a Power BI report builder, I pre-built this user experience, this navigation through the pages. So the user experience of my readers is much more useful, and so they can focus on what really matters. That is to say, analysis and decision making, right? So actually, that was just a basic introduction to the bookmarks. So you can see how you can build this user experience. I'm sure most of you already know how to do it. I'm gonna actually showcase this feature so you can see the whole picture and all the things that the bookmarks allows you. On another report I built 1.5 years ago. So let me open this report. Yep. So this is about the US presidential elections 2016, right? So I built this report, as I said, 1.5 months ago, and I'm gonna use this report to showcase the different use cases, the different usage of bookmarks. As you can see on the right side, I pre-built something like 20 bookmarks, which are sourced by these pages of my report. I'm gonna switch to the view mode, and then I'm gonna try to tell you a story, right? I could not do this demo without trying to tell you a story, right? So I'm gonna really try to focus on what are the principles of the elections, what were the results, how we can analyze them, and how we can really use the bookmarks as a way to tell a story and try to find some insights over these elections, right? So I'm gonna switch to the view mode over here. Okay, so this is my first bookmark about the presidential elections. The first use case is that you can link some images. This is actually an image on the bookmarks, right? So here, this image is actually linked to another bookmark, which is my second bookmark. And I can just control click. My readers just have to click. So I can really go into another pages. So you can see in terms of user experience, it's pretty cool because my users don't even have the impression that they are on Power BI or they're on this. They don't have this feeling of pages. They just go across the different elements, and it's kind of a pleasant user experience. So this bookmark is actually about the US presidential election system, just to make sure we all know what we are talking about. So as you may know, in the US, it's kind of an indirect democracy. Citizens don't directly vote for the candidates. They actually vote, and their votes are counted for electoral votes. So there are 538 electoral votes across the country. They are split in the different states of the United States. And to win the election, you actually need to have the majority of these electoral votes. So we often talk about the 220 road to win, because the president needs at least 220 electoral votes to become the president of the United States. And there is one important thing to mention about this electoral system is the fact that the winner takes it all. What does it mean? It means that on a given state, let's say Washington or California, let's say you have two candidates. The candidate who makes it first on the popular votes, on the votes from the citizens, gets all the electoral votes from the states. Okay, so that is to say that there is no proportion. Even if the margin on the popular vote is pretty low, the candidate wins all the electoral votes within the state. Okay, so this is the principle of the winner takes it all. And obviously, the number of electoral votes within a given state is kind of computed and calculated over the number of people who are actually members and residents of this state, right? So this is the system. We're gonna see what kind of implications it can have on the results. So I'm just gonna go here and switch over my third bookmark, which is actually the result of the elections displayed on the map. So as you might see, it takes a little bit of time to load. It's because we are live on YouTube, so I'm using the web to display this this map. I will show you in a sec how I did it. So yeah, in real life, this will be even more, this will be quicker. Okay, anyway, so these are the results of my bookmarks. I'm gonna switch to the different ones. So as you can see here on the right side, I'm using the spotlight. Donald Trump lost the popular votes, that is to say, the votes coming from the citizens. But because of the winner takes it all system I've just tried to describe you a few minutes ago, he managed to get the majority of the electoral votes, and he became the president of the United States, right? We can also notice that the turnout for this election was pretty low. I mean, compared to France, usually in France, for presidential elections, we have something like 70 or 80% of turnout. So I was a bit of surprised by this turnout. Okay, so anyway, as you may know, in the United States, there are three types of states. there are states which are traditionally Republican or Democrats. So these states are pretty stable in terms of political behavior. No matter who is the candidate, they usually vote for the same party, right? So here, what am I telling you this is because I'm gonna try to dive into the data, try to break it down and try to explain what has driven the result of the election. As you can see here, I'm using the bookmarks. I filtered the data on the attributes of the states, in order to try to analyze and find some insights, right? So a pretty cool use case of bookmarks as well is the fact that you can really filter the report. So here, as you can see, Donald Trump won all the electoral votes at stake in the traditionally Republican states, which are displayed here on the map, right? So he really consolidated his field. Like, he didn't even lose one electoral vote on the traditionally Republican states. He managed to win the swing states, which are the third type of states I forgot to describe you. So these states, which are displayed here on the map, usually have not a stable behavior in terms of political votes. Depending on the election, they might vote either for the Democrats or for the Republicans. And these states are definitely the most important states because they completely drive the result of the elections, and they clearly have a huge impact on the final results of the election. And as you can see here on this bookmark, Donald Trump managed to win most of the electoral votes in these swing states. He actually won the popular votes as well. So it's pretty interesting. We can also see that the turnout in these swing states was a little bit higher than the national average. And what is most surprising is that, as you can see here on this bookmark, the traditionally Democrat states, Donald Trump even won some electoral votes on states that were usually used to voting for Democrats, right? So this is a huge performance because he managed to change the political behavior of states which used to be pretty stable in terms of votes, right? So pretty interesting as well. Here you can really see how bookmarks help me tell the story about the data. I'm just gonna keep going. So this one is pretty interesting. As you can see here, I have a little toggle, and I'm gonna use the bookmarks and some tips and tricks to actually change the nature of my chart here using these toggles, okay? So I'm just gonna quickly show you how it works. I'm just gonna click on Control click. And as you can see here, I can definitely change the nature of my chart using this small toggle over here. So this chart, just to explain how it works behind the scene. So these are pictures, which are linked to bookmarks. And using the, I think it's selection pane. Yeah, I am displaying or not the toggle, right? So it completely helps me switch between bookmarks. But what is interesting is that my end user, my reader, don't have to care about all this stuff, okay? I prepared it for him. He doesn't even know how it works internally, how it works behind the scene, but it definitely makes the user experience and the analysis of the report much easier, right? So let me go over here. So what is this chart about? I tried to, again, go deeper into the analysis, and I wanted to make some correlations between the poverty rate and the votes. So actually here I have in the x-axis the poverty rate, and in the y-axis the percentage of citizens who voted for Hillary Clinton, okay? Another use case of bookmarks, which is pretty interesting, is the fact that I can use the zoom, because as you can see here, this chart is not that clear. So I'm just gonna switch to the next bookmark, and now I can see in full screen my scatter chart. As you can see, there is no particular correlation. The trend line, which is just over here, indicates that the more you have, the higher the poverty rate, the more you vote for Donald Trump, right? Because it is decreasing. And as you can see here, I am using the segmentation I've just shown you before about the traditionally Democrats, Republicans, and swing states. So this one is actually pretty interesting. It helped me understand a little bit how to map the different states. The data is actually coming from the web. I'm not saying it is 100% sure, but I'm sure that it's not too far from the actual data. So let me switch back to the map. One thing which is really, really interesting, and I didn't tell you so far, is the fact that we are kind of building a PowerPoint experience within Power BI with these bookmarks, but we are still within Power BI, right? And as you may know, one of the main strengths of Power BI is the fact that the different charts within your page are interactive, and you keep this interaction going with the bookmarks. So here I am still on the bookmarks I just shown you, but I have some interactions over my data. So this is pretty huge, right? Because at the end of the day, your readers might want to see the data differently. So they still have the control over this bookmark, and this is really, really huge. And what I've discovered is that if I am reducing the segmentation, for example, here I am only displaying the states which have between 8 and 12 electoral votes, well, actually, I can see that the trend is much more, you can see it, right? The more you're poor, the less you vote for Hillary Clinton, right? And again, the same for this one, the states between 13 and 20 electoral votes. You can really see that the trend line, right? So I could have actually saved these filters as part of my bookmarks. I didn't do it intentionally, just to show you that you keep control over the bookmark and over the things that are displayed in Power BI. So really, really, really interesting, I think. Okay, so let's continue. We still have 9 bookmarks. So here, what I did is that I really wanted to go further in the analysis. I really wanted to understand what happened. And there is a principle usually in data analysis and in business intelligence, is that you try to drill down, right? You try to go deeper in the grain of your data. And here what I did, it was a bit challenging, but I managed to display the results at the county level, okay? To try to better understand what were the trends and what were really the results at a lower grain, right? So this chart is pretty amazing because it's completely interactive. As you can see here on the left side, I can drill down and go back to the state level. Let me just show you that. So here I am drilling up and I'm switching over to the state level. This chart is actually the drill down choropleth, which is not a native visual in Power BI. It is actually a custom visual. So these custom visuals are also definitely part of the storytelling experience because they completely extend your power in terms of analysis and visualization of the data. So how does it work? You basically have external developers. It can be Microsoft people who are not part of the Power BI team, or any developers in the world who have skills on JavaScript. They can actually develop some custom visuals and put it in a marketplace. And I can pull these graphs, these charts on my report, and they have the same power, the same interactions on my report. So here I'm on Power BI Desktop, as you may know, and I can just pull in these custom visuals, which are external, which are built by the community, to completely extend the power of my visualization. Okay, so yeah, just taking a little bit while to load. So here I can see all the custom visuals which have been developed by the community. Pretty interesting. There is actually one that is completely useless, but I usually show to my clients, so I'm sure they remember it. Is the Aquarium. Okay, you can display the data, let's say some sales in an aquarium, and the bigger is the fish, the higher are the sales, for example.
And when they go to zero, they die.
Exactly. So yeah,
I have a question on that topic. You seem to use the liquid gauge for actually looking at percentage. Why did you choose that one?
Yeah, why did I choose that one? Because I don't know. Yeah, that is true. This is actually a custom visual as well. I found it interesting to use this one. I found it was a nice way to display kind of some ratios, right? You would
Perfect.
have you would have used another one, Chuck?
I use it all the time, so I was just curious why you chose it. I like it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I tend to use it a lot as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and if there are any questions, because I cannot see the box, but if there are any questions, I think we'll have time at the end of the session to take them. So yeah, let's keep going. So this is my custom visual, pretty interesting. I can really drill down back to the county level. But what I really want to do is, my users don't really necessarily know this drill down. So I can actually use the bookmarks to kind of simulate and reproduce this drill down behavior, right? So what I did here is that I decided to focus on 3 states which were important in terms of electoral votes. So sorry, it's gonna take a little bit time to load because we are live on YouTube. But here I am displaying the data for Texas, and as you can see, I can really focus for let's say Texas at the county level. Pretty interesting. I also focused on California, which have 55 electoral votes. It's the biggest state in the US for the electoral votes. It is a traditionally Democrat state. And then a third one, Washington State. Okay, so Seattle. I was happy to go there last week for the summit, which is part of this Washington State. So here you can see the results of your state, Chuck, on for the elections. Pretty interesting as well.
It is. Remember we were talking about my fishing buddies versus where I live, and this actually is a great visual that represents that.
Okay, so there we go. So as you can see here, I clearly decided to save this drill down behavior and use the bookmarks as a way for my readers to don't really necessarily focus on complete tasks, but they can really focus on what really matters. Okay. And by the way, myself, I've discovered so many things using these features. Okay, so let's keep going. A few more. I also wanted to kind of compute the results from Barack Obama's elections. So I wanted to compare with 2012. So that's what I did here in the next bookmark. I decided to focus on 3 key states, which are the different states that the one I've just shown you. So these states are Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. And why did I choose these states? Because these states voted for Obama in 2012, all of them. Obama won very shortly in some of them, but anyway, he won all the electoral votes from these states. And by the way, I learned a lot of things about the US. For example, look at this the way it has been built in terms of administrative stuff. These small square are just perfect square. Anyway, and as I said, these states during the 2016 election, they swung, they changed, they switched, and they voted for Trump. And I think that these states themselves kind of explain the results of the election. And it's really interesting because you can really go at the county level again. You can clearly see how they look like, and you can clearly compare between the two years. And again, you clearly see, here I'm using the spotlight again, that you can use here, spotlight. You clearly see, sorry, that the winner takes it all in action, right? In this state, Florida, Donald Trump won very shortly, something like 20,000 citizens more. But because of this principle of the winner takes it all, he managed to get all the electoral votes from these states. That is to say 29 electoral votes. Even worse, here in Michigan, as you can see, only 10,000 votes more for Donald Trump. But again, he managed to win all the electoral votes for Michigan. That is to say 16 electoral votes, right? So that's it for these US elections. I really wanted to kind of showcase the different sets, the different use cases of the bookmarks so you can really understand what kind of impact they have on data storytelling and on the way you should build your reports, on the way you should kind of explain some correlations and some insights, right? So I'm just gonna, I think we'll have time. I'm just gonna show you a couple more. Let me just open this one. I actually did another one, which I'm not gonna showcase in detail, but I published all that stuff on the data stories gallery. Maybe I just can quickly show you this. So here you have a gallery on the community.powerbi.com website where you can publish your work, okay? Be careful to do so. You need to do a publish to web, which is not a secure way to share your work, right? You should not use it for sensitive data. And in some cases, it might be useful. Here I am using data which is public, which is about my country, France, about the elections that occurred over the Fifth Republic. And I really wanted to show you this just to have your feedbacks. Maybe you can send me some comments and some links on Twitter about this dashboard. There was one thing I tried to do is to make some dynamic pages. So here you can see the results of all the elections of the French Fifth Republic. And one cool thing I wanted to show you is the fact that here are the candidates over the second round. Okay, in France we have 2 rounds. These are the first one and these are the second round. Everything is obviously dynamic. Okay, so here I'm going to show you this one, 2007, Ségolène Royal versus Nicolas Sarkozy. 2012, François Hollande versus Nicolas Sarkozy. You can see the popularity. And as you can see, the picture are changing. So this is pretty interesting as well in terms of user experience and in terms of storytelling. Here, I am using, again, another custom visual, which is the smart filter developed by SQL BI, I guess, or OKViz. So I can really kind of a Google experience. I can really focus on the department. So that is my department where I was born and where I used to live. I miss it because it's very sunny and it's very fun. But anyway, so here I'm really focusing on this department and I can see the results of all the elections for the department. Yeah. So pretty interesting in terms of use case. I'm really excited to get your feedbacks, and I'm sure it gives you some ideas on how you should build your reports. And Chuck, I'm sure you've noticed here I'm using the same custom visual,
Yep, one of my
the liquid
favorites.
blush, yeah, to display the turnout of the different rounds of these elections. Okay, so in terms of demo, I'm done. Just a couple of slides more. If we try to take a step back, okay, try to kind of think about all these things. I have a few advices to give you if you want to apply these features and these patterns to do some storytelling. I think that data storytelling is not just a question of features or a tool. It's highly a question of mindset. Okay, so I gave you here a little bit of advices on what kind of mindset you should have when you want to build this user experience and use these Power BI features to do some storytelling. The first one is keep it simple, right? We tend to, because Power BI is amazing and because it offers a lot of possibilities, we often want to do everything. We want to display 10 charts on the page, but this is not really insightful, right? And remember what we said about storytelling? It's highly about collaborating, communicating over data. So just keep it simple, okay? I think Léonard de Vinci said that the most extreme sophistication is simplicity. Okay, so it's not that easy to make it simple, but it's definitely how you should design your reports. The second part is challenge your readers, because as I said, you're not going to tell a story for yourself, right? Well, you could do it, but I'm sure that you want to do some storytelling for your executives, for your management, for people who are decision makers, right? And you should challenge their needs, right? Why? Because I'm 100% sure that they don't even know what are the capabilities of tools such as Power BI, okay? So maybe they will tell you that they want to see a chart like this or a particular KPI like that, but you need to show them, you need to make some demos on how cool are this stuff, the tooltips, the drill through, the bookmarks, and so on. So really, you should challenge them and help them focus on the most important things, right? So you can help them gain insights and focus on the most important stuff, yeah. The third point, which is completely linked to what I've just shown you, especially the drill through experience, the page report tooltips, and so on, is the fact that you should, I think, build reports in funnel, right? You should go from high-level statistics with a grain which is not too detailed. Okay, so for example, that's what I did for Lionel Messi, very basic stats on games per competition and so on. And then I really decided to drill down and to drill through to the more detailed statistics. That's what I did again for the US elections. And I think that it definitely helps the user adjust the grain of the analysis and find some insights at the lower grain. And because you have these features of drill down, drill through, tooltips, and so on, you can definitely apply this pattern for all your reports. The last element, which is really important to me as well, is just be aware. Keep an eye on all these stuff that are produced by Microsoft, by the community, because things are changing really, really fast, okay? If we talk about Power BI, most of the things, or nearly all the things I just shown you, didn't even exist 6 months ago. Can you imagine? The drill through, the bookmarks, or the page report tooltip, these are new stuff, right? So if you want to do some storytelling, Microsoft is really investing on that. And I'm sure that you should keep an eye on all the announcements, all the features that are released every month, and also all the amazing work that was done by the community. So this will be my last point. There was a bookmark contest. I think it was 2 or 3 months ago. I participated to this contest. So basically the community had to build some really cool dashboards using the bookmarks to do some storytelling. And sincerely, it's amazing. You can see how people are creative. I think this one won the contest, and it's crazy because you don't have the impression that you are on Power BI. It's a complete modern and original way to design reports. So you should definitely keep an eye on all that stuff. I'm not gonna show you how it works, but just anyway, you go to the data stories gallery and you will find some cool insights about all the dashboards, all the things that are built by the community, right? So I think that's it for me. Let's catch up. I'm really ready to chat with you, get your feedbacks on my dashboards on the US elections, on the French Republic, on Lionel Messi. So just feel free to follow me on Twitter, to follow my YouTube channel. I have a lot of content both in English and in French. And yeah, thanks Chuck for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to showcase all these amazing features to the community.
Thank you very much, Tristan. The reason the pause was there is I was actually pasting the link to the PBIX on the Data Stories Gallery. I told people to look on the Azio, Avio. How do you pronounce your company name again?
Azio.
Azio. Yeah, I sent them the link to your blog. I was assuming that you do a blog post on it, but I actually went ahead and grab the one from the community site and actually pasted that in. So what you might want to do, if you could for us, is actually put a tweet out, because I also give them your Twitter handle so they can subscribe, a pointer to the US politics PBIX that you just did. And I'm guessing that you haven't updated it to have the new tooltips yet. So you might want to upload that one you're working over the weekend.
Exactly. So, yeah.
We had 196 at our high water mark, so well done. Actually, I think it may have hit 200 when I was looking at it. And as far as questions, I think we answered most. Our program had a ton of comments on things that he wanted to see, a lot of things we'd already had done, and was adamant that he wanted your PBIX. He was very excited about your PBIX. Other than that, I don't think that there was a lot of other questions that I didn't already answer. So let me just do a quick scan one more time. And no, it looks like we've got those. So for the people that want the PBIX, go to community.powerbi.com. Matter of fact, you're still sharing. Why don't you actually go ahead and go back?
Yeah.
And from the home page, actually go back to the home page. You can actually see where it says Data Stories Gallery.
Yeah.
And that actually will take you to the Data Stories Gallery. And then what he did is underneath of the galleries itself, he actually went out and said, what type of data story do I want to look at? And one of those is actually bookmarks, and that was a specific type. And his is actually the third row down in that list. And that's what we were just looking at. And there are some amazingly other reports in here to take a look at. Also,
you should really have a look at it, because it's amazing what people built using these features. Sincerely. To be honest, I hadn't uploaded the PBIX. You just have the online version.
Okay.
But I can do it if you want to.
There was certainly a lot of requests for it. Yes, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
And we did have one other question, is that when will bookmarkings be available to Power BI embedded? If you embed an entire report, are they not there now? I teach the Power BI embedded course. I actually just taught it on Wednesday, and I have to admit I haven't actually looked at it. So I would be surprised if they're not there. And if they're not, I'm sure the team's working on it. So that music right now means we're at the top of the hour. And I want to thank you and remind people that this Thursday we've got another webinar on the Visio visual, custom visuals. So take a look at that on this Thursday. Otherwise, Tristan, thank you very much. Stick around, don't hang up. But I am going to go ahead and thank everybody and end the webcast.
Thank you.